In this video you had asked, or you had said you'd like to hear from us about our own experience with community. I was born into a kind of a unique subculture in Pennsylvania of the Anabaptist people. All scenes from distances are just, we know that scenes from a distance are different than scenes close up. We have pictures of what the Mennonite community is, or the Amish community, the Anabaptist community, and maybe our idea of what from the outside, from a distance, would have been more accurate 4 generations ago. But the schisms in the Lancaster, Lebanon area in Pennsylvania since 1890 to the present have decimated the homogeny of the culture, so that so far as left and right political ideology, or the Mennonites cover the whole span. Okay, it's a deeply complicated thing, like anything in life, but the Mennonites in this area where I live, Lebanon County, are traditionally quite conservative, but there were Mennonites from Indiana and Virginia that had come with different organizations that worked with Mennonites in this area, Mennonite Central Committee, for example, and they had come to this area, and they would be much more liberal. So they would dress not in a distinctive way, but even still, they're German and carry their own identity, but they carry the name Mennonite as well. Although I will say Amish, which I know less about than Mennonites, but I'm quite certain that Amish, there's not quite the spectrum politically as there is with Mennonites. Mostly Amish, you have, if you bear the name Amish, you have a distinctive dress. There's no undercover Amish out there. My own home community was mostly agricultural, which obviously everywhere that's failing. My closest relatives, my own immediate family was first generation off the farm. My dad was a house builder. We lived on land that he had bought from his dad, part of the farm, and he had built a house. And then when I was 7, he built another house directly beside it and rented the first house out. I grew up with the view of justice that the world, the system that everyone lived in the United States was just, and that frugality is inherently Christian, deeply Christian, working hard, and that the question, it was just, the words just never came out to question the justice of the systems in place that provide Americans with their needs. The dairy industry was something that my cousins' families made their living in, 2 of my cousins' families. And those farms were a source of joy to me growing up, going and being with family there. Just the sense of having resources. The farms were 100 plus 200 acre farms, and they had their own equipment, and just seemed like wonderful. Of course, my grandfather's farm was there. Somebody was renting it out, but I would go there, and I had a sense of propriety, like I was a lord when I was there. I grew up. I went into missions straight out of high school. Impulsive decision. I was at a commissioning service, and they said they needed one more person on the 4-person team that was going to Sweden. So, yeah, just I've always been impulsive, so I had no sense of hope involved with it, like this would lead to anything good, but just a sense that I needed to serve God, and so I did it. I didn't think this was going to be fun. I thought I'd do what I have to do. The Lord has done wonderful things through that experience. It was not fun, but I would never have changed it for anything. I believe it's made me a wealthy person. My sufferings, my trials. That mission agency was through the church, and the Mennonite church, the missions agency, and it was probably started by young people that had experience with the larger missions institution called YWAM, Youth with a Mission, that American evangelicals. It's a pretty big deal with them. So I came back and I went to music school, met my wife, dropped out, and became involved in her church 100 miles away from my home place. There were less farmers at this church, even though it was Lancaster County. My father-in-law was a chicken farmer, and I had gotten a job. I dropped out of music school. My wife supported us for a number of years as a nurse, while I did jobs that didn't pay very much. And my father-in-law, who was a contract chicken farmer, found out of some chicken barns that were available for rent, and I've been doing that for 10 years, and getting firsthand experience with agriculture. I no longer believe that our system for supplying people with their needs, the means of production, is just in this country. It's sad, but I believe that whether they know it or not, many of my loved ones lie about this. I would not like to call myself a leftist. It's extremely distasteful, but I guess it's kind of like Marxian and Marxist. I agree with the diagnosis that something's deeply wrong, that there is no such thing in this nation as subsidiarity. Subsidiarity is terribly violated. I don't even know if it's subsidiarity or subsidiarity, but it's terribly violated in our country. That to even pretend like it's existing, like small local entities are taking care of local needs, is just an insult to intelligence. Like, everyone is so incredibly dependent and dispossessed. Just don't know how to go forward. Solidarity. People are so beaten down, enslaved, spiritless. We have so many things so many technological things that we bought at far too high a price, and the whole world has become soulless. So Lancaster and Lebanon County, it's like a bastion of what appears to be small ownership. Like, you go into farms in other areas, and it was like a takeover. The industry took it over, and there's larger farms. But it seems like in Lancaster and Lebanon, it's still smaller, but not really. I mean, not small like you live in a community where you get your shoes and you get your clothes, and everything is sourced from the community. Your power, there's a power plant there, or if there's any kind of larger machine. This kind of perfect justice, perfect justice would be everybody taking care of their own needs in a glorious and dignified way, just way. Speaking of justice and dignity there, that I don't know if you saw that Alistair McIntyre video that he had posted on human dignity, which is kind of shockingly attacked the use of the word dignity as at the expense of justice. He's saying that dignity, like, we need to stop saying dignity. You know, if you want to save an unborn baby, make the world a place where the baby can live. You know, obviously I'm pro-abortion, I'm pro-life, but I cry all the time for justice. You know, that these children born would have a hope of being, bringing to life in them the image of God, and not putting it down and lying, saying that things are good that are not good. So I wrestle with the Anabaptist community being idolized as a bastion of small ownership, of glory. There is glory there. The community is disintegrating. 1893 was the first big split of the Lancaster Conference, the Mennonite community in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Since then, there's been many schisms. Financially, they're still bound together. They're the great wealth here. And that wealth is probably what's keeping it looking the way it does, that it is being exploited terribly by large agricultural actors. But that wealth, from that ancestral wealth, is what has kept it looking the way it does. It's on the way out, unless something changes. Which, obviously that's our hope. Those of us who are looking for justice, hoping against hope for justice. It's an interesting thing to think about. I'm not on board with saying that the Anabaptist path is like the clear path to justice. The conservative mindset in the area is terribly unintellectual, purposefully unintellectual, which, to those who do long for satisfying answers to life's problems, it's extremely frustrating. And it's everyone does. And if you're fed on lies and lies satisfy you, there's a reason for that. It's because you're trying to keep something you think is good that's really not good. I don't want to be spouting hate. I'm deeply thankful for my life, for my experience, for the things in the world that only I know, experience, appreciate. For myself and my own handicaps, and for others and their handicaps. I want to spend my life to heal. And who knows, maybe even be like Jesus and do it by touch and by great power. At this point, I'm just doing it by having a heart for justice, trying to serve Jesus.